All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Final hour of the Wednesday edition. And if it's the final hour of the Wednesday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show, it means it's time for us to welcome in our friend Charles Hurt, columnist, Washington Times. Hello, Charles.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
I'm okay, I guess. I mean, you know, you put on the TV in the morning and if it's a hearing involving Kathleen Sebelius or one of her cronies involving health care, or if Obama's speaking, you never know what's going to come out of their lips. And I want you to hear what came out of the lips of Kathleen Sebelius today when she was asked by Senator John Cornyn of Texas the following question. And so this one, will be cut number 32.
Isn't it true that there is no federal requirement for navigators to undergo a criminal background check, even though they will receive sensitive personal information from the individuals they help sign up for the Affordable Care Act?
That is true. States could add an additional background checks and other features, but it is not part of the federal requirement.
So a convicted felon could be a navigator and could acquire sensitive personal information from an individual unbeknownst to them.
That is possible.
All right. So in other words, you wake up and you find out that the bank you're working for, or you work with online, you do banking, or the company you're purchasing from, they just sent you a note saying, by the way, we employ convicted felons that are looking at all your information, and we can't guarantee anything. I mean, this is beyond insanity.
It really is. And, you know, Kathleen Sebelius, I don't know how many people dressed up as Kathleen Sebelius for Halloween, but she would be a really, really great costume for a long time. I mean, if you were to create a monster in Hollywood that was going to get in, they were going to take away your life-saving health care, they were going to slaughter your doctors, drive them out of business, and then take all of your personal information and put it in the hands of criminals, this would be the villain. And she would look just like Kathleen Sebelius. She would talk just like Kathleen Sebelius. And you're sitting there, and she's saying everything in a very matter-of-fact way, as if it's like totally normal.
Right.
She has just created a system where criminals are going to have all of your personal information. It's insane, Steve.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, this hardly got any headlines today. I mean, maybe I usually gravitate towards Fox and MSNBC during the day because I like to know what they're saying while I'm on the air and while I'm preparing. And it hardly made any headway at all. They're more interested in the mayor of Toronto and his crack addiction still, and of course the election results from last night. But I've never. I mean, if there is a commercial for not going near this thing even once when and if this thing ever works, it's what she just said.
Yeah, and it's incredible. And of course, you take a guy like Senator John Cornyn, who is not a flashy, slick talking politician type. He's very lawyerly, and he really studies stuff, and he usually addresses these hearings more as a prosecutor or an attorney who is like trying to pick apart a case or build a case. And it takes a guy like him with the people that work for him to absolutely pick apart this whole thing. And obviously he went in armed, knowing that this flaw was in the law. But you're right, Steve. It's amazing that is not the one and only glaring headline out of the hearing.
And Cornyn also asked her, and he said, "Let the record show that I believe it was him. Let the record show that the witness will not answer my question." He tried to get, was the president lying? When he said that if you like your insurance, you could keep your insurance, and she went into her little dance, and he tried again, and she went into her dance, and his time was up, and he said, "Let the record reflect she will not answer the question," and she did not answer the question.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me. Why doesn't she just say no? He wasn't lying.
Because you can't do that either.
Of course she can't say that because she's under oath.
Right.
And then she would be lying.
Right. As he said, it's not against the law to lie to the American people, but it's against the law to lie to Congress. So he prefaced it with that. He probably put a little warning light in her head. Uh-oh, I better not lie here. Now listen, you wrote a great piece at the Washington Times today about Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin knew a death panel when she saw one. And boy, oh boy, she was right. And all of us who talked about death panels, we were all right.
Yeah, and it's amazing how, and I'm sure that, that there's some, editorial board writer at the New York Times whose head explodes every time the name Sarah Palin is mentioned, who is probably saying, well, this is not technically a death panel. It's like, yeah, but you know what? If you have stage 4 gallbladder cancer and you have lived 2 years past the point at which 98% of all patients are dead, and you have and you're losing your insurance with your doctors between Texas and California, and you're just losing your insurance, and with that you lose your doctors and everything else. You know what? That is a death sentence, and the idea that these people are so arrogant that they don't realize that they are playing with life and death here, and people are going. I feel like Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid say this all the time in reference to Republicans when they shouldn't be saying it. But in this case, you really can say that people's lives will be shortened because of this law.
Absolutely. And Charles, that's the
terrifying thing.
That's the goal. People don't even – I mean, when Barack Obama sat there during 2008 and had a town hall meeting or whatever it was and told Charlie Gibson that, cited the statistics for end-of-life care or the last 2 years of life or whatever it is, how that's 80% of our costs. And then a woman gets up and says, I have a 100-year-old or 90-year-old mother. She's full of life. She's full of pep. She's an exception to the rule. She's, and she needs heart surgery. And he said, well, was something to the effect of you really can't take personality into account. They will deny these people the health care they need. Tom Daschle told me an 80-year-old who needs a bypass will get a pill or go to a hospice. Those are his words. This is what they want to do. Kill off the old people. It cuts down their costs, and that's America's not ready for this. America doesn't understand. Like you're right, we're all about keeping our family, our parents, the ones we love alive as long as possible. And now this bill changes all that.
Yeah, and I'm not making a religious argument here. People can be atheist or Christian or Jewish or whatever they want to be. That's fine. But the thing here is, and I'm not saying that we need to insert God in all of this or insert religion into any of this, but the bottom line here is that President Obama thinks the government should be God and should make those decisions, and you don't have to be a religious person for that to scare the living daylights out of you. People of every stripe should be running for the exit.
Now, Charlie, let me ask you. We got over a minute. What's the chance the media will ever say what you just said? What's the chance the media will ever say what Sarah Palin said?
Because the media believes that government is God. They believe that your rights, all the rights that you are granted, are somehow granted from the government. They don't believe that there is a natural granting of rights to people, and that this compact that we have with government, they don't believe in any of that, partly because, of course, none of them studied any of it in school. They've never studied history. All they know is sort of the conventionalism, which is that, you have a problem over there? Well, the government needs to do something about that. There really should be a law about that. That's what the media does.
So they will continue to hide this until people get a culture shock, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's going to be a terrifying one because it's going to be children dying, it's going to be old people dying, it's going to be all these decisions that get made, and it's just sick.
Charles, great talking to you, my friend. Read his column. Sarah Palin knew a death panel when she saw one. WashingtonTimes.com. We'll speak to you next week, my friend.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Charles Hurt, ladies and gentlemen, right here. You want to weigh in? 877 Newsmax 877-639-7629. Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.